better. We want better talking. We want to communicate. Okay, this is more relevant to 美国人. Here in Taiwan, you're very safe. You don't even think about this, but this apparently covers our news all the time. Here we have our Atoa girl, sexy girl, bikini girl. We all know that. Maybe she could be Australian, American. And here we have our Muslim woman. And take a look at what they say. They're thinking. As they walk past each other, they're looking at each other. Because it's different. But what do they say? Our Western Adoa girl, what does she say? Everything but her eyes. This is all covered. She wears a burqa. And only the eyes are allowed to be open here. The whole body is covered. Everything covered but her eyes. What a cruel, male-dominated culture. Because, you know, when we think of Muslim and women, that the men own the women like property. No one else is allowed to look at the woman because it belongs to the man. Okay. She belongs to the man, and the woman is like property. Now, this Muslim woman looks at our bikini girl and thinks the same thing, almost the same thing. Cruel male-dominated culture. In way, nothing covered but her eyes. Only the eyes are covered, and the whole body is open. And this girl says, why? The Muslim woman does not think that she is controlled, and she thinks the Western girl is controlled. Okay, well, let's take a look at this. You know the burqa. The burqa has to cover the woman. You also know this news. This is the most recent one, August 24th, a few weeks before I started preparing this slide. This occurred in France. Do you remember this story? The burkini. Okay, now Muslim women, they like to go to the beach like everyone else. And they will cover themselves, you know, with spandex and stuff, just like you guys cover because you don't like the sun, you want UV blocking, and it's right there. And when she was in France on the beach, it's against the law to cover your body. The policemen came with their guns and made her take off her clothes in front of everybody. So which one is the male-dominated culture? Where's our male-dominated culture? Who dominates? In which culture do the men dominate women? I don't know. Pretty interesting. Okay, so we know about Saudi Arabia, and we know that they are always covered. You can see they even cover with their hands sometimes. And it turns out, actually, a long time ago, I'll tell you a story. A long time ago, when I first started working, teaching English, I had an Arabian student, a girl. She was in America. And when we're in the United States, in Washington, D.C., she does not wear her burqa, of course. She just looks like everyone else. And I had to teach her English, practice pronunciation. But we always talk, cultural exchange. And of course, she feels so free because she doesn't have to wear it. When she goes back home, she has to wear the burqa. Okay. And I asked her about this, and she's like, okay, well, they have to wear it when they're in public, but when they're in private, they can take it off, of course, with the family and with their friends. And she's always looking at my eyes. I'm looking at her eyes. The eyes are important. And it turns out, when they go shopping in their department stores, they spend money just like all these other girls. And they spend it right there on the eye makeup. It's the most important part of the body. The eye is to show identity, who you are. So the eyes are open. It's the only part that's open. Burqa covers everything. You don't know who they are. The eyes are open, so these are important. And they spend a lot of money trying to look beautiful. And I was like, what? And she's like, well, yeah, because then when we're with the girls, it's ladies only. They can take off the burqa, and they always compare compare themselves, who is more beautiful, and it's just like anyone else, just like any other group of girls. They'll look at their men, oh, you have the blah, 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 oh, they change their hair, oh. It's just that it's private for women and not for men. But they are very competitive, and they're always trying to make themselves look more beautiful. They do cover themselves also when they go out, and here's an example similar to a burkini. Here, Sarah Attar is actually running in the Olympics, and she wears spandex outfits like this. As long as she's covered, she's allowed to go and compete. So that's kind of very similar to the way the burkini works when they go on the beach. And in France, they passed a law against covering the body like this, so they made her take it off. Okay. That was actually pretty糟糕. Everyone was like, ooh, that made world headlines. Of course, in Western culture, sorry, some of these that's really old, that's like 1970s. Cosmo magazine. Remember, if you got it, flaunt it. We always like to show our body. There's our Adoa girl showing, and it doesn't matter. She's proud of her body no matter what, because that's the way we want to be. Don't be ashamed of our body. Here, she's showing a little bit too much. Cosmo, this was way back in the this one is actually 1970. And they're still having a lot of sex talk. This is a women's magazine giving them advice on how to have relationships and keep their husband happy and all that kind of stuff. Always talking sex. Nowadays, I don't know. I've never really looked at Cosmo. Nowadays, it could be pretty much the same. Not much else has changed. So now I need to ask this question again. Male-dominated culture. In which culture is the woman owned by the man? Is it here, our Arab women, our Muslim women? Or is it here in our Western world, keep her where she belongs? Nice little piece of property there. This one is a little bit old, you can tell it's dated, updated. Now we let them stand in front of cars, and rich men can collect women like they collect the cars. Little object to have, a trophy, called trophies. There's our objectification of women. Reach out and get one. And some guy in the news recently talked about that, reaching out and getting one. This advertisement struck me as taihua-zhan. Normally I don't look at advertisements, but when I was thinking about this question, male-dominated, I go in hot, male-dominated, flipping through, and you see this one for your bags. Ladies, you want your bags, you want your shoes, but it turns out you are a piece of property as well, at least in this advertising. Looking at the piece of meat, which is the attractive part to make the bags attractive. So my question, I'm wondering, I'm thinking, 想一想, 如果社会, our society, is based on looks, then who is free? Where's our freedom? 我们的自由在哪里? We have our Lady Liberty, but everyone, by peer pressure, is supposed to look like this and then show it. So how free are we? There's a lot of stress there, yadi and that, to make yourself look good. And that's what this woman says. She has freedom. She is free when she's covered, because those other guys aren't checking her out. Free and safe. In her point of view. So she looks at this girl who has been turned into an object by the men, controlled by men. Remember, in her culture, the eyes are important. This is the identity. And you see, it's blocked out. So the Western woman has no identity. She's an object. She's a Barbie doll. Because the eyes aren't important. 不一样的看法, that is a different culture, different point of view. And that's one way that we make a mistake. Let's take a look at our American culture again. Another way is to have stereotypes. We all know stereotypes. We look at our American stereotype. We always think Americans eat junk food, fast food. Here's our pizza, beer, pizza cola, I don't know. Let's take a look. American stereotypes. There's our American. There's our American Adoa. American is lazy. Oh, there's his books. He does have books. He goes to school. He does go to school, but he needs the books to help him watch TV. And he's got his McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. He's loving it. Oh, he looks like he's loving it. Okay. There's a stereotype. That's not true. A lot of us read the books. We read these books. We don't just put them under our feet. So this stereotype is false. Not everyone is like that. There are groups of Americans who might be that way, but not everybody. Don't worry, when I'm looking up stereotypes, I got some for you, Chinese, although we'll say, oh, I'm Taiwanese. Oh, that's another issue, Taiwanese or Chinese. Here, this one comes out as Chinese stereotypes. Take a look right here. Are these true? Now that I have you here, please tell me. Number one, everybody. All Chinese people are short. Is that true? No. Yes, all of you guys who know me when I was here, many of you are taller than me. I'm the shortest American around here. Okay. Number two, everybody. All Chinese people are good at math and science. You love math and science, right? No, no. You're like, okay. Number three. All Chinese people eat rice and noodles every day. Is that true? Yes. Oh, interesting. Someone says yes, but you were saying no? Saying no? Interesting, interesting. This one is weird. I can tell you about my family, my in-laws, my wife's family, my mother-in-law. Okay, my mother-in-law must have rice every day. And even if we order pizza, we have some pizza, and we're all eating pizza, and my little nephew loves pizza, and we're all eating pizza, and then she cooks rice and says, here, have some rice with the pizza. I have some rice. I have a pizza. Pizza rice. So at least for that particular individual, she does eat rice every day. She insists on it. But that's not everybody. That's not everybody, obviously. How about number four? Number four. Chinese people live with their parents all their lives. Is this true? No, no. Of course it is false. It is false. From the day I arrived in Taiwan 16 years ago, I found out this was false. At that time, many Taiwanren, especially men, had started to go to mainland China to work. The families were broken. They had to be broken in order to have work. So society has changed. And people will move out of their houses all the time. Especially, Taiwan people, young people move to Taipei. Many people from all other cities in Taiwan move to Taipei to get work. Yes, they leave the house. Of course they leave the house. Number five, Chinese people are always suspicious of non-Chinese people. Remember suspicious of the English vocabulary, suspicious. You think that they are bad. You're looking, oh, get away from me. You're suspicious. You think, just by looking at someone else, you think that there's something wrong with them. That's a suspicious. So, Chinese people are always suspicious of non-Chinese people. True or false? Oh, I heard some false. I heard some. This is interesting. This is something to think about. I can tell you more. Like when I first met my wife, I can tell you more about this one. Ato shibu. Ato something. Like to play. They're players. Play girl. This is the advice that my wife receives from all her friends. Interesting. I don't know. This one is kind of interesting. It depends. What do you think? Number 6. All Chinese people know how to grow rice. Oh, get out of here. Screw that. No way. Number 7, everybody. All Chinese people are Kung Fu masters. God. Screw that one. No way. Impossible. Skip to this one. Number 9. All Chinese people have poor vision. Is that true? I think that's false. I don't know. It's hard to tell because so many people will wear contact lenses. I don't know. It could be false in my case. I started wearing glasses when I was 7 years old. I've been wearing glasses all my life, so obviously adults have very poor vision. Some of us. Okay. Number 10, Chinese people are extremely competitive. They want to fight, run, and they win. Is that true? No, absolutely not. If it's a competition we don't care, we're not competitive. Okay, so we had stereotypes. We had wrong ideas. We had stereotypes. And we also denigrate cultures. We look down on them. Ew, you're brown. You're not white. We'll go white. Okay, so there's our eggs looking down on our brown egg. This is where we start to have discrimination, racism. It starts with denigrating a culture, thinking the Chita de Wenhua is not good enough. Here's one. If we just change the color of our old man, he becomes a terrorist. Oh, by the way, Adoa women cover themselves. They're Catholic nuns. They cover their body and they cover their head. Change the color, and she's a terrorist. Our army guys, change the color, he becomes a terrorist. Our little boy likes to dress up and pretend he's a superhero. Change his color, and he's a future terrorist. Just by looking at color. It's denigrating the culture there, racism. So, this is outside of Taiwan. You guys are all in this wonderful, beautiful island. Formosa, beautiful island. Maybe the Taiwan. How well do we get along? We have different cultures here in Taiwan. Yes, you will go to the museum, Shichen Boguan, you will see different cultures. We have cultures here, and they're not as white as us. We have different types of Chinese. And even inside of Taiwan, sometimes we don't like some of the other Taiwanese people because they're a little bit too mainland Chinese-y or love mainland Chinese too much. So we always fight about who we are, and we're always thinking, oh, that other guy, is different. And of course, Formosa, 很多 Adoa 在台湾. So we're everywhere, and some of us might be married. We might be married. Some of us are maybe like Vietnamese wives or foreign husbands. Some of us are here teaching English, and we just live here forever. So, do we all get along in our Taiwan mixing pot? 很多 cultures here around you. I'm looking at the whiteness, our brown egg, white egg. You all know about whiteness. You go to Watson's and you go to the cosmetics department. What are you spending your money on? Oh! Yeah, why do we want to be white? What's wrong with our color? Why do we want to be white? Who wants to be white? I don't know. Because this is one that I pulled out. I learned this a long time ago. One white cancels 3 uglies. This is an old part of your culture. Traditional culture. Chinese culture. One white cancels 3 uglies. And honestly, I was also looking at Nebai and I was just picking out all these Google pictures. What's the difference? I can't tell the difference. Okay, this is misspelling. That's all. It's supposed to be before Iqian, and this is after the product. Does anyone see a difference? Anyone? I don't see a difference. All right. And then here, this one a little bit, you can see that she's covering some redness. It looks like she has some red spot on her nose. And then when she uses her product, it becomes more white. Okay, so there's this tiny little difference. I don't know why it's important. This culture. Why is this important? I don't know. This one was just weird. You know this girl's Kate Blanchett? And here she is for SK2. And her name means white. It's black. From 9th century French. It's just ironic. Okay? She shows up on a white advertisement because her name is white. Okay, well, let's skip that one. Anyways, so I've showed you so many mistakes. We have these tool when we think something different. We have stereotype, 美国人都 something something. 中国人都 mo. Okay, and here we've seen this before, our culture. Some of the culture we can see, and some of it is 看不见, in that it's hidden under this water. Okay, so we have beliefs, value, notion of time. So there's miscommunication, or bias, or conflict. Because we see this and we think that the other person is the same as us, but really there's something bigger that's different. 所以有错误. If you studied English with me, we've spent some time on 时态. I spend a lot of time on 现在过去未来 those future cases and all those cases 因为很复杂 and you hate to study English because of that 时态. Well, we need to have it. We must have it because our thinking of the universe, 我们的宇宙都是 time and space. We must mark time. 所以我们说话 when we speak our words, it marks time so that we can 讲清楚. Express ourselves clearly. Our notion of time is different. Also, we want to study culture. 跨文化沟通. 我们想要跨文化沟通, 因为 saying hello, to say hello, hello everybody, hello. 你好. Oh, I heard someone. Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Hola. Oh, yes. The people are taking the Spanish classes. Hola. Yeah, I heard it. I heard someone say sawadee, right? Sawadee. I Googled this. I don't even know. I Google finally. I put in hello and I click the languages. I'm getting this one. How about this one? Turkey. Merhaba. Okay, that's hello. Merhaba. Bonjour. How about this one? Staviete. Oh, this is Bulgarian. And the last one. Anyone got this one? Namaste. Namaste. Okay. So these are all of our hellos. You can find the same thing with Google Fanny. To say hello, we want Kwawenpak Gotong Inwe, we want to say hello. We want to have a relationship. And that's why we have this picture here. So our relationship works both levels. We want to avoid conflict. Man and woman fight, or Chinese girl and foreign man fight. At the personal level, Inwe, Towu, our cross-cultural mistake. And at the international level, we fight. We still fight today. I'll give you the most famous case of Gotong Towu. Do you remember that one? This is your quick history lesson. Okay, August 1945. Do you remember this Japo? Who is he? Take a guess, take a guess. Anyone, who is that guy? Take a Japo. Take a Japo, I should say. Yeah, we don't know. Oh, just take a guess, take a guess. Make your best guess. In 1945, our time, go back in time. You go back to 1945, and this guy is the American president at that time, Truman. Doesn't matter his name, Truman Show. You go back to the Truman Show. How about this guy? Do you know this guy? Take a Japo. Oh, I'm so bad, I shouldn't do that. I'm back in 1945. In 1945, he is my enemy. He is my enemy back then. Do you know this guy? Do you remember that guy? From Japan? Oh boy, you guys didn't learn your history. He's Hirohito. Japanese Emperor Hirohito. And what's going on? August 1945, what's happening? Do you remember? No, you didn't even look at your history books. You kind of forgot. Okay. Well, at this time, it is the end. It is the end of the war. And we were fighting in Okinawa. Let me go and I can show you, because I know a lot of you guys kind of don't know. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is what's happening in Okinawa.
It was a maniacal, all-out effort to smash our sea power.
Oops, that's a little bit dark.
On Okinawa. It was desperation. It was suicide. But it would be the pattern from now on to the very finish. A struggle between men who want to die.
Boom. Those are the Japanese airplanes.
Who fight to live.
Hey, I know you guys don't watch this. As a kid, I used to watch this on TV. We had all these documentaries. This one was made for TV, and back then in those times, for public to see. And, oh, that was a hit. That was a hit. He got it. He hit the American ship. And they spend all their days trying to shoot these guys down. Oh, near miss. They're safe. They're safe. They're only going to show you the safe ones. They won't show you the nasty ones. Oh, there was a hit. But they won't show you the people dying. So all these guys on this ship are getting blown up and dying there. Let me skip forward.
Into the world's last saving sky. Bay 12, 164,
160
pounds. June 3rd, 45, June 6th,
67.
30.
And this is the way the sky looks. They use old weapons. This is Kudai, very primitive, Stone Age weapons. Look at all these old, silly guns. Our weapons are much better now. Oh, boom. See, look at that old technology. We can destroy more people faster nowadays. And does he make it? Oh, he missed.
For recaptured mission, the most devastating air-sea battle of
There we
all
go.
time.
And this is the way the sky looks. So they got one.
Paid to their Air Force.
The Japanese goes down.
4,432 planes.
Airplanes. Japanese airplanes. Destroyed. Every day, day and night. It stays like this.
But our men, our ships,
The U.S.
our planes,
These are our U.S. casualties
and handed it back to us.
in a few weeks.
Could a fleet stand up against a mass fury of land-based planes?
That one is kind of impressive when you see that sky. So like I said, that's the clean video that they made for everybody. You don't see too many people dying, you just see a plane blow up and a ship go boom. And if you look at that sky, that was life at that time in 1945. Now at that time, President Truman has to make a decision. They were preparing to land in Japan. This is the end for Japan, the end of the war. And they need to decide, how will they go to Japan to fight? In one island, Okinawa, it's on Japan mainland, it's only one small island. The Japanese did that. And everyone is afraid. Everybody is afraid. This is fear. Americans are afraid. The Japanese are afraid. This is their stereotype. Here we are, we're monsters. And the Japanese were saving all of you from us monsters. That's their stereotype. Here's Roosevelt, President Roosevelt. He's a monster. He's a jiangshi. He's a zombie monster. And here's Roosevelt and Churchill. See, equal. And we're monsters. We eat people. We destroy the world. This is Japanese looking at us. Everyone is afraid. Now, look at Japan. Emperor Hirohito and his ministers. They must have their meeting. Kaihui. And they're all having their meeting, the general and emperor, and they're all saying, oh, what should we do? Oh, I don't know. ちょっと難しいですね。Oh,だと思いますけど. And they'll just go on and on and on because Japanese have a terrible time making a decision. Ooh, stereotype. But they took forever to make a decision. Finally, after a long meeting, the foreign minister comes out. He's like, 外交部部长, the foreign minister, prime minister comes out, and all of the reporters, the teacher, they're all asking him, what happened? What happened? The Americans are coming. What will the Japanese do when the American Nihonへ来たん? どうでしょうか? And he says, no comment. Because he's a politician. It's a secret meeting. No comment. Right? It makes sense. Right? Okay, now, let me ask you about no comment. I Googled no comment. I get Google quite the funny. We have some weird meanings here, of course. And also, in English, no comment. 很多不一样用法. 3 different meanings, 3 用法. Number 1. 真的不知道，所以不能说 no comment. Okay. Number 2. No comment at this time. You know, they're asking some politician about a scandal, and he says, I refuse to answer your question. Get out of here. You dismiss the reporter. Number 3. I'm not allowed to tell you. This is also a reason for no comment. Could be secret. So English, no comment, is a little bit ambiguous. It's a little bit ambiguous. In that time, 那个时候，日本人说mokusatsu. They did not say コメントがない. They said, or no commento. They said mokusatsu. Their language was more Japanese and less English at that time. Okay, so we had to fanyi. Mayo Google fanyi. What did we do? We had to translate that. Translate mokusatsu. 美国人翻译那个 mokusatsu. 美国人翻译. What happened? Okay. This is still debatable. I know, sorry. I'm just showing you the document that someone put out. Mokusatsu. Someone was writing a paper about this in some government office. They talked about it at that time. The story of mokusatsu. Japanese Premier Kantaro Suzuki, no decision, 还没决定. And he simply replied to reporters, mokusatsu. It means silence, no comment. Silence. But it has different meanings. International news agencies told the world, the Japanese government said, not worthy of comment. They won't think about it. No comment. That's how it's translated, and it goes back to the American office where President and his generals, they had many ways to decide this. There's Russians, there's geopolitics, and then finally, the last one. The Japanese don't give a crap about the American planes. They're not scared. The Japanese, upa, gore, shoyi, you know what to do. The decision is very easy and very clear now. Let me introduce you. Because I can tell you actually didn't know your history. I'll tell you your history, a little bit of history here. This boy, 这个家伙 is little boy. He is uranium. 这个家伙 is fat man. 叫做, yes, they really do have a name. Little boy and fat man. This one went to Hiroshima. This one goes to Nagasaki. In August 1945. They were carried in airplanes because of fanyi toll. This part of the history you do know. Everyone sees this picture because nobody's dead in the picture. They'll put this in your book. They let you see this. That's your real result of fanyi toll. Right there. There's your result. He is burned. He's turned into mutan, some pieces of him. That's just a picture close up of someone who was burned. But the real result is this. Again, they won't show you that one. In our books, they only show us the buildings are destroyed. They won't show the people. They're afraid to show the people. These are the bodies. You can see there's some workers who are checking and they're counting. They have to look at the damage. You can see there's a harbor. It's a harbor. You can imagine Fugan Harbor. Nagasaki is a harbor. Hiroshima is a harbor. And then you can see it's sea of dead bodies. You can imagine Zhonghua Route 11 from Taidong City all the way to Zhiben. Only bodies. You can imagine that. That would be the scene that occurs after mistranslation becomes this. And that is why we study cross-cultural communication. We don't want to make that mistake again. Surprise! The mistake again! 1956, you don't remember. Now obviously, this mistake has a happy ending. because you are here today. But there was another mistake. In 1956, Khrushchev, there's a party at the Poland embassy, the Dashiguan, and the NATO people, Russians and Americans and Hojoran, the generals, they go there and they are polite, even though they hate each other, they are polite. They have their drinks and martini and champagne, very polite. And he gets drunk and he says, "We will bury you, Americans!" And everyone is afraid. This is our stuff. At that time, this is what we have. Now, these are nuclear tipped. Our technology has advanced in 1956. Every single one of these, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, you can add more. Now we have thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands more. Does this picture look familiar? It looks like Dalu, North Korea, and it's actually Main Street, USA, in a small town, USA. There's our little marching band, and we're carrying our big stick. Everyone loves it. Sticking up. Whatever, you can think what you want about that. At that time, this is a test. This is only a test. At that time, they were bigger. But don't worry. Because it was so dangerous, we stopped. Everyone stopped. And they started to translate again. It turns out that it's Russian Chengyu when he says, "We will bury you." He's not threatening to kill Americans. He doesn't mean to kill Americans. He's simply boasting. And he says, "We will bury you." It means with your own shovel. Your own working class will bury you. Our people, our economy, our economy, communist economy, will beat capitalist economy. That's it. That's all it was. But people were afraid. Everyone. The whole world is afraid. So we need cross-cultural communication to avoid miscommunication. And you can see right here, this guy sees 4, and this guy sees 3, and they might argue about it. This guy, "What do you mean, the Hunger Games are just books?" Sorry, everyone's sorry. Obviously, he misunderstood Hunger Games. He thought it was real. So, culture causes problems. One Wenhua and another Wenhua come together and go boom, and we have a problem. More conflict than cooperation, synergy. Mafan, or more often than Weixian. What are you going to do? What will you do? You guys, young people, your future world, what are you going to do? I showed you some of the past, the world in the past. What are you going to do now? With Kwa and Ma Goton. Hey, there's no bell here. It is about a period break, and there is one break in this topic here. Now that we found out Kwa Wenhua, we need to study it. Avoid dangerous mistakes. The next thing is why? Why is it so hard to understand someone? There's a little bit of theory. Right? Some theory. We'll talk about culture and conflict. Before we do this, let's take a break. Let's take a short shoshi, really short shoshi, and we will start second half. 休息一下。